Welcome to My Green Comms, the podcast for people who care about communicating sustainability with clarity, confidence, and zero greenwash. This show is here for the thousands of small and mid-sized businesses and changemakers who are doing the work but often struggle to talk about it. Because let's be honest, sustainability communication has gotten noisy, regulations are tightening, expectations are rising, and the pressure to say the right thing can feel overwhelming. So each episode, we break it down. We explore the stories, strategies, and real-life lessons that help brands communicate with integrity, avoid the traps, and build trust without the jargon. You'll hear practical tips, conversations with experts, and the occasional rant about buzzwords we should retire forever. Whether you're a comms professional, a sustainability lead, a founder, or just someone trying to make sense of this evolving space, you're in the right place.
Welcome back. I'm especially keen on today's topic as we're looking at a fantastic piece of work from one of our own at My Green Comms.
Oh, Lee Green's piece.
That's the one, navigating the sustainability communications minefield. And, for any organization trying to talk honestly about their progress, it is just a vital guide to avoiding self-sabotage.
It really is a central reading, and minefield is the perfect word for it, because the pressure to get this right is just immense. I mean, you, the listener, you know what this feels like. If you're in a smaller organization or a nonprofit, you feel like there's this digital target on your back.
Yeah.
You're just constantly waiting for that moment when the infamous actually brigade pounces on social media to pick apart your work.
And Lee's piece explains what happens when that fear takes hold, doesn't it? You either freeze up and just stay quiet.
Which is terrible for trust.
Absolutely. Or you try too hard and end up sounding either really safe and frankly dull, or even worse, just overly impressive and a bit insincere.
And what's so fascinating is that the sources confirm, 99% of these mistakes aren't malice.
Yeah.
It isn't deliberate greenwashing.
No.
They're subtle. They're just human errors that come from that very real fear. And the crucial thing is, they are all fixable.
Okay.
And remember this, if you're in a small business, an NGO, a social enterprise, you have the most powerful, the most interesting stories. Our job today is to show you how to tell them without falling into these traps.
So our mission is clear. We're going to walk through 8 of the most common mistakes, and we'll do it in the precise order they tend to appear.
From the very beginning.
From internal thoughts to external comms, we're swapping that paralysis of fear for the power of, clarity and authenticity. So let's start with the first traps, identity and readiness.
These first two really define who you're trying to be and when you choose to speak.
Okay, so mistake number 1. It's a failure of identity. It's borrowing a corporate voice that isn't yours. Why do small, really passionate, value-driven companies suddenly start talking about strategic pillars and operational synergy?
Well, it's because they look at the shiny, expensive sustainability report from some huge FTSE 100 company.
And they think that's how it's done.
Exactly. They assume that formality equals professionalism, that it's the established language of credibility.
But it's not them.
Not at all. And the moment they adopt that voice, the passion, the warmth, the unique human identity of their organization, the very thing their customers actually love, it just gets diluted. They end up sounding like a risk-averse legal department.
But I have to ask, isn't that corporate voice actually, lower risk? If I use formal, non-committal language, I'm surely less likely to be called out for specific failures.
That is the psychological trap right there. The corporate language is designed to mitigate legal risk. But for smaller organizations, your greatest asset is the trust you build with your community.
The relationship.
The relationship. So when you speak formally, you are actively choosing to damage that relationship. The fix is just talk like you.
Be human.
Be human.
Yeah.
That passionate human voice is actually the lower risk option because it builds a loyal audience that's ready to support you, not just scrutinize you.
That completely reframes the risk. Okay, so moving from identity to timing, mistake number 2 is waiting for perfection before saying anything.
The paralysis.
Yes, this internal belief that you aren't ready to talk until every single thing is solved, measured, certified, validated, and wrapped up in a bow.
And the practical result of that belief is just absolute radio silence. The organization could be doing fantastic work internally. Maybe they're changing suppliers or redesigning processes. But because the whole project isn't finished yet, they just say nothing.
And if you say nothing, the audience quite reasonably assumes you are doing nothing.
Precisely. The core message here is that the journey is the story. You don't need perfection. You just need honesty. If you are wrestling with a difficult choice, or if a project is taking longer than you expected, just say so. People appreciate we're working on this and it's proving complicated, but here's our next step. They appreciate that far more than silence, followed by some big, polished announcement.
So we're replacing the pressure to be perfect with the pressure to just be present. Okay, I follow that. That brings us to how organizations handle the evidence, the credibility, and focus traps.
This is where we shift from that internal fear to how you actually establish external proof. And mistake number 3 is making claims you can explain but can't evidence.
Okay.
And as the source material clarifies, this usually isn't lying. It's more a genuine lack of knowledge about what actually counts as accessible proof for an audience.
So the team can explain it to each other in a meeting, but they can't show it to the public.
Exactly. They don't have that simple external signal of transparency that the audience needs to see.
Now, this is a point we really must expand on because it's so practical. So many organizations assume that evidence means they need, what, a 200-page impact report or some complex, expensive analytics?
Yes.
But the requirement is much, much simpler. You just need something the audience can immediately check or understand.
The insight is that you need to show the mechanism, not just the final metric. So, for example, if you say you've reduced the impact of your packaging, you don't immediately need a full life cycle assessment.
So what do you need?
You need a simple blog post detailing where the new materials come from, maybe the name of the supplier you chose, or just a before and after photo of the old packaging next to the new, explaining why you made that switch.
Let's ground this in an example. Say I run a small ethical coffee brand. I've just switched to a specific regenerative farm in Colombia.
Okay.
So instead of just writing ethical sourcing on the bag, I should be posting a video or a photo of the farm, maybe show the farmer, and explain why this farm is better than my last one.
Exactly that. That visual, human signal of transparency carries immense immediate weight. It's verifiable, it's understandable, and it costs nothing more than taking a photograph and writing a couple of hundred words. It makes the claim real.
That is such a necessary reframing of evidence. Okay, let's move to mistake number 4, which is about focus. Leading with small wins because the big stuff feels overwhelming.
Yes, everyone likes talking about the easy stuff.
Like what?
The office recycling program, maybe the company volunteering day at a local park, switching off the lights. These actions are good.
But they're not the main thing.
They are rarely the heart of the organization's actual impact, which for most companies is, it's in their supply chain or their core operations.
So sticking with our coffee company example, the team is really proud they now recycle all their office coffee pods, but the biggest challenge is actually securing a future sustainable cocoa supply at a fair price. Should they stop talking about the pods?
No, not at all. But they must find a better balance. The small, comfortable wins should be shared alongside the big, uncomfortable questions they're exploring. Your audience knows the challenges are huge. So by sharing that you are wrestling with the cocoa supply, even if you don't have the answer yet, you build immense credibility. People don't expect miracles. They expect honesty.
Sharing the complex challenges alongside the easy victories. I like that. Now, let's pivot to the act of communication itself. The clarity and human traps. This is where language really trips people up. Mistake number 5, speaking in ESG jargon because you think you're supposed to.
Oh, this is a massive barrier to entry for the general public.
It really is.
Someone reads a regulatory brief, they learn a term like Scope 3 emissions, and suddenly everyone feels they have to use it.
Right, but they're talking to an audience who probably doesn't even remember what Scope 1 or 2 means, let alone the nuances of upstream and downstream emissions.
And the intention is good. They want to sound informed, but the impact is just immediate exclusion and confusion.
So we're aiming to engage, not to impress our industry peers. If I'm using jargon, I'm talking to the wrong audience. How do we translate something like Scope 3 then?
You translate the technical concept into the human impact. Instead of saying, we are focusing on reducing our Scope 3 emissions, which is the biggest environmental impact we have comes from what we buy, our materials, our supply chains. So that's where we're focusing first.
It's just so much clearer.
It's clearer, more engaging, and far more accessible to everyone. It ensures the message actually lands.
That distinction is absolutely crucial. And while we're on making communication human, we have to address mistake number 6, Forgetting the people story, this is often the superpower of smaller organizations.
It is their superpower. Whether you're a two-person design studio or a social enterprise, every single decision you make about sourcing, about wasted, involves people. The people story is the emotional core that brings all your sustainability work to life.
What elements specifically do we mean when we say the people story?
We're talking about the suppliers you chose, the reason you chose them over a cheaper alternative, the quality of your collaboration, the community benefits. If you strip away those human elements, the relationships, the values, the why, you're just left with cold metrics. And audiences remember stories. They remember the human connection that sustainability is supposed to be all about.
That makes perfect sense. The systems are the mechanics, but the people are the reason the audience cares. Okay, finally, let's wrap up with the structural issues, the traps related to consistency and timing.
Right. Mistake number 7 is all about cadence, posting sporadically, only when there's time.
This happens so much in small teams, doesn't it? Sustainability updates are reactive. They just get slotted in around more urgent tasks like fundraising or product launches.
It happens in small teams, but it's also a problem in larger firms where, the marketing, legal, and sustainability teams aren't talking to each other.
And the end result is inconsistency, which is a massive trust killer. If your updates only pop up once every 3 months, your audience just assumes it's not a core value.
Exactly. It looks like you're just ticking a box when you have a spare moment. Trust is built through expectation, through rhythm. If people can't follow your progress with a predictable cadence, they can't internalize what really matters to you. The fix, as Lee suggests, is to choose 3 core things you want to be known for and just talk about them regularly.
Not constantly, not perfectly.
But consistently. Consistency signals commitment.
Consistency over perfection. That's really the mantra of this entire deep dive, isn't it? Which leads us right to our final mistake, number 8, thinking you need certifications before you can communicate.
This is a big one. Certifications like B Corp or ISO, they're powerful, but they are step 4 or 5 in the process. They are not the starting line.
Okay, but I can see the resistance here. If I'm a B2B supplier, doesn't my increasingly sophisticated customer, the big corporate client, demand that formal validation before they take me seriously? If I don't have B Corp yet, I feel like I have to wait.
That's a very real-world pressure point. But waiting for that external validation, it just delays your whole story for months, even years.
And then the announcement feels like it came from nowhere.
Right, it feels unearned. The trick is to use the process of getting certified as your content. Document the gap analysis, share the challenges of the paperwork, talk about what you are learning as you audit your own performance.
So instead of waiting for the final badge, you tell people, we applied 6 months ago, and this week we discovered we need to completely overhaul our employee contracts to meet the standards, and here's how we're doing it.
Precisely. That transparency accelerates trust. It gives the audience a real investment in your eventual success. Just tell people what you are doing now. This certification then becomes part of that future success story, not the required ticket to have a voice.
That has been an incredibly practical walk through a really tricky area. And if we tie this all together, the core finding from Lee Green's piece and the source of almost all these mistakes, it's just fear.
It's all fear.
Fear of getting it wrong, fear of saying too much, fear of not sounding corporate enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But when you shed that fear, you realize your audience isn't asking for polished corporate language or some kind of abstract perfection.
No.
They're just asking for clarity, for authenticity, a genuine sense of direction, and a story they can believe in and support.
So by simply avoiding these 8 incredibly human, fixable mistakes, you can communicate your progress better and build deeper trust than many organizations 5 times your size.
And you could do it just because you chose transparency and humanity over formal perfection.
A powerful thought.
Which leaves a question for you to consider. If sharing your journey honestly is more valuable than presenting a finished, perfect state, how might you restructure your communication to actively ask for feedback from your audience on your most difficult, unresolved, bigger questions? Think about how that step could accelerate both public trust and your own internal progress. Something to mull over until our next deep dive.
Thanks for joining. If you found today's conversation useful, feel free to share it with a colleague, a friend, or someone who's currently wrestling with their latest sustainability comms challenge and could use a little support. For more tips, resources, and weekly insights on how to communicate sustainability responsibly without the fluff, sign up for our newsletter or try out the free version of the MyGreenComms AI tool. You'll find everything at mygreencomms.com. And if you're enjoying the podcast so far, a quick follow or review helps more people find it and join this community of credible communicators. Thanks again for listening. And remember, good sustainability stories don't need to be complicated. They just need to be honest. Until next time.